The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the starship Endeavour. Commander Jake Sullivan gripped his chair as the ship shook violently. Sparks flew from broken control panels while the crew fought to keep their vessel stable. Hull breach. "In Section 7, shouted Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls, trying to seal the damaged areas. "We're losing atmosphere fast." Chief Engineer Carl Martinez wiped sweat from his face as he worked on the main power systems. "The engines are failing, Commander. We have maybe 10 minutes before complete shutdown." Jake looked at the main screen showing the planet below them. It was their only choice now. The blue and green world looked peaceful from space, but he knew looks could be deceiving. They had been exploring this system for 3 weeks when the meteor storm hit them. Now they were going down whether they liked it or not. "All hands, prepare for emergency landing," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "Secure everything you can." "This is going to be rough." Dr. Lisa Chang rushed onto the bridge, her medical bag in hand. "Commander, we have injured crew members in the medical bay. The artificial gravity failed and several people were thrown around badly." "How many?" Jake asked, already knowing the answer would be bad. 6 injured, 2 in serious condition, Lisa replied. "And there's something else. We found someone in medical bay 2. She's not human." Jake turned to look at the doctor. In all his years of space exploration, they had never encountered intelligent alien life. "What do you mean, not human?" "She appears to be from another species entirely. Her skin has a crystalline quality, and she seems to be paralyzed from the waist down. She was already there when we found her. We don't know how she got aboard." The ship shuddered again as they entered the planet's atmosphere. Jake had to make quick decisions. "Amy, find us the safest landing spot you can. Carl, give me everything you have left in the engines. Lisa, get back to the medical bay and help the injured. We'll deal with the alien situation once we're on." The ground? The next few minutes passed in a blur of activity. The crew worked together as they always did, but Jake could see the fear in their eyes. They all knew that landing on an unknown planet with a damaged ship was dangerous. Many exploration crews had disappeared this way. The Endeavour hit the planet's surface hard. The impact threw everyone forward, and Jake felt his shoulder slam against the arm of his chair. Emergency power kicked in, giving them dim lighting throughout the ship. The main engines finally died with a low whining sound. "Everyone report?" Jake called out, getting to his feet slowly. "Bridge crew is okay," Amy said, checking her instruments. "Most ship systems are down, but life support is still working. Engineering section has damage, but we're alive," Carl reported through the communication system. "Medical bay here," came Lisa's voice. "We have more injuries from the landing, but everyone will live. The alien girl is still unconscious, but stable." Jake nodded and looked around the bridge. Through the cracked main window, he could see they had landed in a valley surrounded by tall mountains. Strange purple trees grew everywhere, and the sky had an odd orange tint. 2 moons were visible even in the daylight. "Amy, run a full scan of the area. I want to know what we're dealing with out there." "Carl, assess the damage to the ship. See if we can get the emergency beacon working." Over the next several hours, the crew worked to understand their situation. The news was not good. The emergency beacon was destroyed in the crash. Their food supplies were damaged, with only enough for maybe 2 weeks if they were careful. The ship's main systems were beyond repair. Without major parts they didn't have. Jake made his way to the medical bay to see the alien girl Lisa had mentioned. When he entered the room, he stopped in surprise. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin did look crystalline, with patterns that seemed to shift and change in the light. She appeared to be about the same age as a human teenager, but her features were more delicate. Her hair was long and silver, and even unconscious, she seemed to glow faintly. "Any idea how she got here?" Jake asked Lisa, who was checking on the human injured. "None at all. She was just there when we found her. Her injuries are strange, too. She seems paralyzed, but there's no obvious spinal damage. It's like her body just stopped working from the waist down." Jake studied the alien girl's face. "Even Unconscious, she looked sad somehow. What do you think happened to her? I don't know, but she's been through something terrible. Her vital signs show signs of long-term stress and trauma. As the day wore on, Jake gathered his crew in the main cargo hold. The 5 surviving members sat in a circle, sharing what little food they had while discussing their options. The way. I see it, Carl said. We have 2 choices. We can stay with the ship and hope someone finds us, or we can try to find higher ground and set up a signal. Amy nodded. The scanner shows there's a mountain ridge about 20 kilometers north. If, we could get there, we might be able to send a signal that rescue ships could detect. What about supplies? Asked Lisa. We can't carry much, and the injured need medical attention? Jake had been thinking about this problem all day. We'll have to make hard choices. We can't save everyone if we all try to stay together. The group fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Someone would have to be left behind. The alien girl is paralyzed, Amy said quietly. She can't walk, and we can't carry her 20 kilometers. She's not our responsibility, added Carl. We don't even know how she got on our ship. Jake felt uncomfortable with the direction the conversation was taking. She's injured and helpless. We can't just leave her to die. Commander, Lisa said. Gently, we have to think about the crew first. If we try to help her, we might all die. The debate continued for hours. Jake found himself arguing for keeping the alien girl while the others wanted to leave her behind. They saw her as a burden, especially since she couldn't walk. Jake couldn't explain why, but something about her made him think there was more to her story. Finally, the group reached a decision. They would leave in the morning for the mountain ridge, taking only the supplies they could carry. Jake would stay behind to monitor the ship's systems and take care of the alien girl. The others would try to establish communication with any. Rescue Ships.Amy looked upset about leaving Jake behind. Are you sure about this? It's dangerous to stay alone. Someone needs to watch the ship, Jake replied. And someone needs to take care of her. I'll be fine. As the others prepared for their journey, Jake went back to the medical bay. The alien girl was awake now, looking around with large, dark eyes. When she saw him, she didn't seem afraid. Instead, she watched him with what looked like curiosity. Hello, Jake said softly. I'm Jake. I'm going to help you. She tilted her head and said something in a musical language he didn't understand. Her voice was beautiful, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Jake pointed to himself. Jake. Then he pointed to her and raised his eyebrows in question. She seemed to understand. She touched her chest and made a sound like Zara. Zara, Jake repeated, and she nodded as night fell over the alien world. Jake sat beside Zara's bed. Tomorrow, the others would leave, and he would be alone with her on a dangerous planet. He didn't know what challenges they would face, but somehow he felt this was the right choice. Outside the ship, strange sounds echoed across the valley. Jake checked his weapon and settled in for a long night. Whatever happened next, he would not abandon this helpless girl. Something told him that decision would change both their lives forever. The morning sun cast long shadows across the crash site as the crew prepared to leave. Jake watched from the medical bay window as Amy, Carl, and Lisa packed their supplies into backpacks. They moved quickly, not wanting to waste time or have second thoughts about their decision. Zara lay on the medical bed, her dark eyes following Jake's movements. She had been awake for most of the night, and Jake could tell she understood something important was happening. Her crystalline skin seemed duller today, as if she was getting weaker. The weather looks good for traveling, Amy said as she entered the medical bay. She couldn't look directly at Jake as she spoke. We should reach the ridge in 3 days if we keep a good pace. Jake nodded. Be careful out there. We don't know what kind of animals live on this planet. Amy finally met his eyes. Jake, you don't have to do this. We could find another way. No, Jake said firmly. Someone needs to stay, and someone needs to take care of her. This is the right choice. Amy's eyes filled with tears. She and Jake had been friends for 5 years, ever? Since they started serving together on exploration missions. They had always worked well as a team, and recently Jake had noticed that Amy seemed to have feelings for him that went beyond friendship. "I don't want to leave you here," Amy whispered. "What if something happens to you?" Jake put his hand on her shoulder. "I'll be fine. Just focus on getting help. When the rescue ships come, we'll all go home together." Carl appeared in the doorway. "Amy, we need to go. The best traveling weather is in the morning." Amy looked at Jake one more time, then leaned forward and kissed him quickly on the cheek. "Be safe," she said, then turned and walked away quickly. Lisa came in next, carrying a small bag of medical supplies. "This is all I can spare," she said, setting it on the table. "There's enough antibiotics for 2 weeks and some basic first aid materials." "What about painkillers?" Jake asked, looking at Zara. "Only a few doses." "I'm sorry, but the others might need them on the journey," Jake understood. Lisa was making hard choices, trying to keep everyone alive. "Thank you for leaving anything at all." Lisa looked at Zara for a long moment. "I wish I could help her more. Her condition is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's as if her body has just shut down below the waist." "Maybe it's temporary," Jake said hopefully. "Maybe," Lisa agreed, but her tone suggested she didn't believe it. Carl was the last to say goodbye. He handed Jake a small device. "This is a communicator. The range is limited, but if you get in serious trouble, we might be able to hear you. If we're within 10 kilometers. "Thanks," Jake said, taking the device. Carl looked uncomfortable. "Look, Jake, I know this seems harsh, but we're doing what we have to do. If we all stay together, we might all die." "I understand," Jake replied. "Just get to that ridge and send a signal. Don't worry about us." After Carl left, Jake watched through the window as the 3 crew members walked away from the ship. They moved in single file, with Amy leading and Lisa bringing up the rear. Within an hour, they were just small dots against the purple landscape. Jake turned back to Zara. She was watching him with those large, dark eyes, and he could see intelligence there. She knew she had been abandoned by the others, but she didn't seem angry or afraid. Instead, she looked sad. "It's just us now," Jake said softly. Zara said something in her musical language. Jake wished he could understand her, but at least she was trying to communicate. Jake spent the rest of the day exploring the ship and taking inventory of their supplies. The situation was worse than he had thought. The others had taken most of the food, leaving only emergency rations for about 10 days. The water recycling system was damaged, so they would have to find a source of fresh water soon. The ship's computer was still partially working, running on emergency power. Jake tried to access the language database to see if he could learn anything about Zara's species, but most of the files were corrupted. As evening approached, Jake returned to the medical bay. Zara was trying to sit up, struggling to move her upper body. Jake hurried to help her. "Easy," he said, supporting her back. "Don't push yourself too hard." Once she was sitting up, Zara looked around the medical bay with more interest. She pointed to various objects and made questioning sounds. Jake realized she was asking what things were. "That's a scanner," Jake said, pointing to the medical device. "It helps us check for injuries." Zara repeated the word scanner in her musical voice. Though it sounded different when she said it, they spent the next hour like this, with Jake naming objects and Zara trying to repeat the words. She was a quick learner, and Jake was impressed by how fast she picked up the sounds of human speech. When it got dark, Jake made a simple dinner from the emergency rations. He wasn't sure if Zara could eat human food, but she seemed hungry. He offered her a small piece of the protein bar, and she ate it slowly. "Good?" Jake asked. Zara nodded and said something that sounded like good in her own language. After dinner, Jake checked the ship's security systems. The external cameras showed the area around the crash site, but it was too dark to see much. He could hear strange sounds from outside, calls and howls from unknown creatures. "I hope the others are safe," Jake said to himself. Zara seemed to understand his concern. She pointed toward the direction the others had gone and made a worried sound. "You're worried about them too," Jake said. "That's kind of you, considering they left you behind." Jake set up a sleeping area in the medical bay so he could stay close to Zara. He didn't want to leave her alone, and he felt safer having her where he could see her. As he prepared for sleep, Jake noticed that Zara's skin seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. The crystalline patterns on her arms and face pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. It was beautiful. And mysterious. What are you? Jake whispered. Zara heard him and tried to answer, but her words were too complex for him to understand. She seemed frustrated by the language barrier. Jake lay down on his makeshift bed and looked up at the ceiling. Through a crack in the ship's hull, he could see the 2 moons of the planet, casting their blue-green light across the valley. He thought about Amy, Carl, and Lisa somewhere out there in the darkness. Were they safe? Had they found shelter for the night? Part of him wondered if he had made the right choice staying behind. But when he looked at Zara, lying helpless on the medical bed, he knew he couldn't have left her. There was something about her that called to his protective instincts. She wasn't just an alien creature to him anymore. She was someone who needed help, and Jake had never been able to turn away from someone in need. We're going to be okay, Jake said to both of them. Somehow we're going to figure this out. Zara said something soft in her own language. Jake didn't understand the words, but her tone was gentle and grateful. As Jake drifted off to sleep, he noticed that Zara's glowing seemed to get brighter when she was calm. He wondered what that meant, but he was too tired to think about it. Much outside, the alien world continued its strange symphony of sounds. Unknown creatures moved through the purple forest, and the wind carried scents of flowers and dangers that Jake couldn't identify. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight Jake felt oddly peaceful. He had made his choice, and he would live with the consequences. Whatever happened next, he would not abandon Zara. Something deep inside told him that this decision would change everything, though he couldn't imagine how. The last thing Jake saw before sleep took him was Zara's gentle face, glowing softly in the moonlight, watching over him like a guardian angel. 3 days had passed since the others left, and Jake was learning to live in a new world. He woke each morning to the sound of strange birds calling from the purple trees outside the ship. The alien sounds no longer frightened him as much as they had the first night. Zara was awake when he opened his eyes, as she always was. Jake had noticed she seemed to sleep very little, instead spending most of the night watching the stars through the cracked window. Her crystalline skin glowed brighter during the dark hours, as if she was drawing energy from the moonlight. Good morning, Jake said, sitting up and stretching his sore muscles. Good morning, Jake, Zara replied in her musical voice. Her English was getting better each day, though she still struggled with some sounds. Jake smiled. It was amazing how quickly she was learning his language. Yesterday, she had started putting words together into simple sentences. Her intelligence was clearly much higher than he had first thought. How are you feeling today? Jake asked, moving. To check on her, Zara tried to move her legs under the blanket, but as always, nothing happened. Same, she said sadly. No feeling. Jake had been hoping to see some improvement in her condition, but her legs remained completely paralyzed. However, he had noticed other changes. Her skin seemed less pale, and the crystalline patterns were becoming more vibrant. She was also eating better and seemed stronger in her upper body. Maybe it takes time, Jake said, trying to sound hopeful. Zara looked at him with those large, dark eyes. Jake, she said carefully, I tell you something. Of course. What is it? Zara pointed to herself. I am Velthary. My people, they live far from here. Jake sat down beside her bed. This was the first time she had told him anything about her background. Velthary, he repeated. Is that what your species is called? Yes, Velthary are... She paused, searching for the right words. We feel what others feel. We know if someone is good or bad. You mean you can sense emotions? Zara nodded. You have good heart, Jake. Very good. That is why I trust you. Jake felt a warm feeling in his chest. Thank you. But how did you get here? How did you end up on our ship? Zara's expression became sad. My ship crashed here a long time ago, many days before you come. I was alone, hurt, could not walk. Your ship crashed here too? Jake asked, surprised. Double quotes, yes. My people, they look for me. But I hide. Why were you hiding? Zara was quiet for a long moment. I fail, she said finally. I was supposed to protect someone important. But I fail, and they die. I cannot face my people. Jake could hear the pain in her voice. That's why you can't walk? Because of what? Happened? Not hurt in body, Zara said, touching her chest. Hurt in here, in heart. When Valkyrie failed to protect, sometimes body stops working. Jake was beginning to understand. So your paralysis isn't from a physical injury. It's from guilt and trauma. Yes, I cannot forgive myself. So my legs will not work. Jake reached out and gently took her hand. Her skin felt warm and smooth like polished stone. Zara, everyone, makes mistakes. What matters is that you learn from them. But someone died because of me, Zara said, tears forming in her eyes. Tell me what happened, Jake said softly. Zara took a deep breath. I was guardian, young guardian. My job was to protect a child, very important child of our leader. What's a guardian? Valkyrie with special gift? We can heal others when we protect them, but only when we protect. Gift only works when we care for someone. Jake felt his heart skip. You can heal people? Could heal? Zara corrected. Not anymore. Gift is gone because I failed. What happened to the child? Zara closed her eyes. Attack came. Bad people wanted to hurt the child. I was supposed to keep child safe, but I was scared. I ran away. Child died. How old were you? Very young. Maybe like human teenager. Jake squeezed her hand. Zara, you were just a child yourself. You can't blame yourself for being scared. But I was guardian. My job was to protect. Your job was impossible, Jake said firmly. No one should ask a child to risk their life like that. Over the next few days, Jake and Zara talked more about their lives. Jake told her about Earth, about his family, and about his work as an explorer. Zara shared stories about her people and their abilities. Jake learned that the Valkyrie were an ancient race with a deep connection to healing and protection. Guardians were rare and special, born with abilities that only worked when they were protecting someone they cared about. The stronger their emotional bond with the person they protected, the stronger their healing powers became. So you need to care about someone to use your abilities? Jake asked. Yes, cannot heal strangers, must have bond. Must want to protect. The more than self. Jake was fascinated by this. And you haven't been able to use your powers since the incident? No, I try many times, but nothing happens. I think gift is gone forever. As the days passed, Jake noticed that Zara was becoming more active. She started trying to help with daily tasks, using her hands to organize their supplies and clean their living area. She couldn't move her legs, but she was determined to be useful. Jake also noticed that she seemed to anticipate his needs. When he was about to go outside to check their water supply, she would already have the empty containers ready. When he was feeling tired, she would suggest he rest. It was as if she could sense his emotions and physical state. You're reading my feelings, aren't you? Jake asked one evening. Zara looked embarrassed. Sorry, I cannot help it. Valkyrie always feel what others feel. I try not to, but you are very easy to read. What do you sense from me? You are worried about your friends. You wonder if they are safe? You are also worried about food running out? Jake was surprised by how accurate she was. Anything else? You are lonely, but not as lonely as before. You like taking care of me? It makes you feel useful. Jake realized she was right. Despite their difficult situation, he felt more purpose than he had in years. Taking care of Zara gave him a sense of meaning he had been missing. What about you? Jake asked. How do you feel? I feel different than before. For a long time, I feel only sadness and shame. But now I feel something else. What? Hope and something else. I feel like I want to protect you too, Jake smiled. We're protecting each other. That night, Jake woke to the sound of growling outside the ship. He grabbed his weapon and moved to the window. In the moonlight, he could see several large creatures circling the ship. They looked like wolves, but they were much bigger and had metallic claws that gleamed in the darkness. Jake, Zara whispered from her bed. What is it? Predators. They've found us. The creatures were testing the ship's hull, looking for weak points. Jake knew the damaged areas wouldn't hold if they really wanted to get inside. We need to get To a more secure area? Jake said, moving to help Zara. Wait, Zara said, grabbing his arm. I can help. How? I cannot walk, but I can think. I know about survival. My people taught me about hunting and being hunted. Jake looked at her in surprise. What do you suggest? Those creatures, they hunt by smell. If we can mask our scent, they might lose interest. Zara directed Jake to mix certain chemicals from the medical supplies to create a strong-smelling compound. They spread it around the entrances to the ship. Now, we wait, Zara said, and stay very quiet. For the next hour, they listened as the creatures prowled around the ship. Finally, the sounds grew fainter and disappeared entirely. They're gone, Jake said with relief. We work well together, Zara said, smiling. Jake realized she was right. Despite her physical limitations, Zara's intelligence and knowledge had saved them. They were becoming a real team dog. As they settled back down to sleep, Jake felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. He felt like he belonged somewhere, like he had found his purpose. Taking care of Zara wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about something deeper. And though he didn't know it yet, Zara was beginning to feel the same way about him. 2 weeks had passed since the others left, and Jake was getting worried. Their food was almost gone, and he had seen no sign of rescue ships. The water recycling system had failed completely 3 days ago, forcing him to make dangerous trips to a nearby stream to collect water. Zara had been watching him carefully, and Jake knew she could sense his growing desperation. Her empathic abilities meant she felt every emotion he experienced, and he tried to stay calm for her sake. Jake, Zara said as he prepared to go outside again. You're pushing yourself too hard. We need water, Jake replied, checking his weapon. The containers are almost empty. I know, but you barely slept last night. You keep having bad dreams. Jake stopped what he was doing. Zara was right. He had been having nightmares about the creatures outside, about running out of supplies, about Amy and the others being dead. The stress was wearing him down. I'm fine, he said, but even he could hear how tired his voice sounded. No, you are not fine. You are exhausted. Your body is weak from not eating enough. Jake had been giving Zara most of their remaining food, telling her that humans needed less nutrition than her species. It was a lie, but he couldn't bear the thought of her going hungry. Someone has to take care of things, Jake said. And someone has to take care of you, Zara replied firmly. But I cannot do anything from this bed. Jake could see the frustration in her eyes. Over the past 2 weeks, Zara had become more alert and active, but her legs still would not move. She had tried every day to move them, concentrating until tears formed in her eyes, but nothing happened. You do more than you think, Jake said. You help me plan, you warn me about dangers, you keep me company. I don't know what I would do without you. Zara's crystalline skin glowed brighter at his words. You really mean that? Of course I do. We're partners now. That afternoon, Jake made another trip to the stream. The journey was becoming more dangerous. Each time, the large Volf-like creatures, which Zara called shadowhounds, were becoming bolder. They had learned his routine and were starting to follow him. As Jake filled the water containers, he heard a low growling behind him. He turned slowly to see 5 shadowhounds emerging from the purple trees. They were huge, easily twice the size of earth wolves with silver fur and those terrifying metallic claws. Jake drew his weapon, but he knew he was in trouble. 5 against 1 was bad odds, especially when he was already tired and weak from lack of food. The largest shadowhound stepped forward, its yellow eyes fixed on Jake. The creature's lips pulled back to reveal teeth like knives. Jake backed toward the stream, but the other shadowhounds moved to circle him. Easy, Jake said softly, though he knew the creatures probably couldn't understand him. I don't want to hurt you. The largest shadowhound suddenly lunged forward. Jake fired his weapon, hitting the creature in the shoulder, but it barely slowed down. The beast's claws raked across Jake's chest, tearing through his shirt and into his skin. Jake stumbled backward, blood pouring from the wounds. The other shadowhounds moved closer, sensing weakness. Jake fired again, hitting another creature, but his vision was starting to blur from blood loss. The pack attacked all at once. Jake fought desperately, using his weapon in his bare hands. But he was overwhelmed. Claws and teeth tore at him from all directions. He felt ribs crack as one of the creatures slammed into him. A claw caught his leg, opening a deep gash that sent him to the ground. Jake's weapon was knocked from his hands. He lay bleeding on the rocky ground beside the stream, watching the shadow hounds circle him like vultures. The largest one approached, slowly, preparing to finish him off. "Zara," Jake whispered, thinking of her alone in the ship. "I'm sorry." The shadow hound leaped toward him, but Jake no longer had the strength to move. Back at the ship, Zara felt a sudden spike of terror and pain that wasn't her own. Her empathic abilities had grown stronger over the past 2 weeks, and she could sense Jake's emotions even when he was far away. "Jake!" She cried out, knowing something terrible was happening. She could feel his fear, his pain, his certainty that he was about to die. And underneath it all, she felt his regret at leaving her alone. For the first time since her failure as a young guardian, Zara felt a protective instinct stronger than her own fear. Jake was in danger, and she was the only one who could help him. "No," she said firmly, pushing herself up in the bed. "I will not let this happen again." Zara concentrated harder than she ever had before. She thought about Jake's kindness, his gentle care, the way he had stayed with her when everyone else left. She thought about his sacrifice, giving her most of the food, risking his life every day to get water. She thought about how much she cared about him. Something deep inside her chest began to warm. The crystalline patterns on her skin started to glow brighter, pulsing with energy she hadn't felt in years. "Work," she commanded her legs. "Work for Jake." She felt a tingling sensation in her lower body, then a sharp pain as feeling returned to her legs. But she pushed through the pain, focusing on Jake's need. Suddenly, Zara could move her legs. The paralysis that had held her for months was gone. Broken by her desperate need to protect someone she loved, Zara swung her legs over the side of the bed and stood up. Her legs were shaky and weak, but they held her weight. She grabbed a medical kit and ran toward the ship's exit. She had never run so fast in her life. Her bare feet barely touched the ground as she raced through the purple forest toward the stream. The glow from her skin lit her way, growing brighter with each step. When she reached the stream, she saw Jake lying motionless on the ground, surrounded by shadow hounds. Blood covered his chest and legs, and his eyes were closed. "Get away from him!" Zara shouted. The shadow hounds turned toward her, startled by the bright light emanating from her skin. They had never seen anything like her before, and the intensity of her glow made them step back. Zara knelt beside Jake, placing her hands on his chest. The healing energy that had been locked away for so long came flooding back. Her skin blazed with light as she channeled all her power into saving his life. "Jake," she whispered, "stay with me." The wounds on Jake's chest began to close. The deep gash on his leg sealed itself. His broken ribs knitted back together. Zara poured all her energy into healing him, feeling her own strength drain away in the process. The Shadowhounds watched in amazement as Jake's injuries disappeared. They had never seen such power before, and they knew this was something beyond their understanding. One by one, they slipped away into the forest, leaving Zara and Jake alone. Jake's eyes fluttered open. "Zara?" he whispered. "How are you here?" "You can't walk." "I can walk," Zara said, smiling through her exhaustion. "I can walk because I need to protect you." Jake tried to sit up and realized his pain was gone. He looked down at his chest and saw that his wounds had completely healed. Only torn, blood-stained clothing remained as evidence of the attack. "You healed me," he said in wonder. "Yes, my power came back, but how?" Zara helped him to his feet. "I told you guardian powers only work when we protect someone we care about. I could not use my abilities before because I was thinking only of my failure, my guilt. And now? Now I think only of you, of keeping you safe." Jake looked into her eyes and saw something there he had never seen before. The sadness was gone, replaced by determination and something else, something that made his heart race. "Zara," he said softly. "I know," she replied. "I feel it too. They walked back to the ship together, Zara's steps growing stronger with each moment. Her crystalline skin continued to glow, but now it was a warm, peaceful light instead of the desperate blaze of emergency healing. When they reached the ship, Zara turned to face Jake. "I am a guardian again," she said. "But this time I choose who I protect. And who do you choose?" "I choose you, Jake. I choose to protect you, not because it is my duty, but because I want to." Jake felt tears in his eyes. "And I choose to protect. You too?" They stood together in the doorway of the ship, two beings from different worlds who had found something precious in each other. The first real bond either of them had ever known. Neither of them knew that high above the planet, Valkyrie ships had detected the burst of Guardian energy and were already heading toward the surface. Their time alone was about to end, but what they had built together would last forever. Jake woke to the sound of Zara's voice, speaking in her own language. She was sitting by the window, her crystalline skin glowing softly in the morning light. Her words were musical and urgent, as if she was calling to someone far away. "Zara?" Jake said, sitting up. "What's happening?" She turned to him with excitement in her dark eyes. "My people, they heard me." "Heard you? How?" "When I healed you yesterday, I used much power. Guardian energy travels far in space. My people felt it." Jake felt his heart sink. "So they're coming for you." "Yes, but Jake, this is good news. They can help us both." Over the past day, since Zara had regained her abilities, she had been different. Stronger, more confident, but also more connected to something beyond their small world in the crashed ship. Jake had known this moment would come, but he wasn't. "Ready for it? Will you have to go back with them?" Jake asked. Zara moved closer to him, walking easily now that her legs worked again. "That depends on many things. But first, I must tell you the truth about who I am." "What do you mean?" "I am not just any Valkyrie. My family, they are leaders of our people. And guardians like me, we are very rare. Only a few are born each generation." Jake stared at her. "Your royalty? Something like that?" "My people have been searching for me for many months. When I disappeared, it left them vulnerable." "Vulnerable to what?" "There are others in the galaxy who want to hurt peaceful species like yours and mine. The Valkyrie have always been protectors, but without guardians, we cannot fulfill our role." Before Jake could ask more questions, they heard a sound unlike anything on the planet. A deep humming filled the air, growing louder each second. "They are here," Zara said. Jake looked out the window and saw something that took his breath away. 3 ships were descending from the sky, unlike any human vessel he had ever seen. They were beautiful, made of the same crystalline material as Zara's skin, glowing with soft light. The ships landed gracefully in the valley near the crashed Endeavor. Beings emerged from them, tall and elegant like Zara, with the same crystalline skin and dark eyes. They moved with purpose toward the human ship. "Are you ready to meet my people?" Zara asked. Jake nodded, though he felt nervous. "Will they accept me?" "They will when they understand what you have done for me." The Valkyrie approached the ship cautiously. Jake could see they were armed, though their weapons looked more like crystals than traditional guns. The leader was a tall woman with silver hair like Zara's, but older and more regal. Zara went to the ship's entrance and called out in her own language. The leader responded, and Jake could hear relief in her voice even though he couldn't understand the words. "My aunt," Zara explained to Jake. "Commander Lyra. She has been leading the search for me." Commander Lyra entered the ship with 2 other Valkyrie. When she saw Zara standing and walking, her eyes filled with tears. She spoke rapidly in their language, and Zara responded, gesturing toward Jake several times. Finally, Commander Lyra turned to Jake. When she spoke, her voice was accented, but clear. "You are the human who protected my niece." "I did what anyone would do," Jake replied. "No," Lyra said firmly. "You did what few would do. You stayed when others left. You risked your life to keep her safe." Zara stepped beside Jake. "Aunt Lyra, this human restored my faith in protection. Because of him, I am a guardian again." Lyra studied Jake with intense dark eyes. "Zara has told me you helped her heal from her trauma." This is a great gift you have given our people. She helped me too, Jake said. We helped each other. Yes, Lyra said, nodding. I can see the bond between you. It is very strong. More Velthari entered the ship, including what appeared to be medical personnel and scientists. They examined Zara carefully, amazed by her complete recovery. They also scanned Jake, their crystal devices humming as they worked. Your physiology is fascinating, one of the scientists told Jake. We have never studied humans before? There will be time for that later, Lyra said. First, we must discuss the situation. As the day progressed, Jake learned more about the Velthari and their role in the galaxy. They were an ancient species that had dedicated themselves to protecting younger civilizations from aggressive forces. Guardians like Zara were essential to this mission, as their healing abilities could save entire populations during conflicts. When Zara disappeared, we lost much of our protective capability, Lyra explained. Many worlds we guard became vulnerable. What kind of threats? Jake asked. Species that conquer and destroy. They seek to enslave or eliminate peaceful civilizations. The Velthari stand against them. Jake realized he was learning about a much larger conflict than he had ever imagined. Humanity was just one small part of a vast galaxy filled with different species, some peaceful and some dangerous. In the afternoon, another ship arrived. This one was human, and Jake's heart leaped when he recognized it as a rescue vessel. Captain Helen Rodriguez stepped out, followed by Amy, Carl, and Lisa. The reunion was emotional. Amy ran to Jake and hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. We thought you were dead, she said. When we reached the ridge, we sent signals for days before anyone heard us. I'm fine, Jake said, though he felt awkward in Amy's embrace. So much had changed since she left. Carl and Lisa stared in amazement at Zara and the Velthari ships. This is incredible, Lisa said. First contact with an alien species. Captain Rodriguez approached Commander Lyra. I'm Captain Rodriguez of the Earth Exploration Service. I understand you've been caring for our crew member. Your Jake has been caring for our Zara, Lyra replied. We are grateful beyond words. The two commanders spoke for several hours, establishing the first formal contact between humans and Velthari. Jake listened as they discussed trade, cultural exchange, and potential cooperation, but Jake's attention was focused on a private conversation he was having with Zara. What happens now? He asked her. My people want me to return with them. There are worlds that need protecting, and I am the only active guardian. Jake felt his heart breaking. Of course. You have duties, but Jake, I have a choice. Guardian. Powers work best when we protect someone we care about. My abilities are strongest when I am with you. What are you saying? I'm saying that I could serve my people better if you came with me, as my partner, my protector, my ... She paused, searching for the right word. Your what? My chosen one? Among Velthari, when a guardian bonds with someone, it is sacred. We become partners for life. Jake stared at her. You're asking me to leave everything behind and go with you to space? I am asking you to continue what we started here. We protect each other, and together we protect others? Jake looked around at his fellow humans. Amy was watching him with sad understanding in her eyes. She had seen how he looked at Zara, how they moved together like two parts of a whole. You're going with her, aren't you? Amy said quietly. Jake nodded. I have to. This is bigger than just us. Captain Rodriguez overheard them. Sullivan, are you saying you want to stay with the aliens? I'm saying I want to continue serving, but in a different way. The Velthari protect peaceful species throughout the galaxy. With Zara's abilities and my tactical knowledge, we could help save lives on a scale we never imagined. Commander Lyra approached them. Jake Sullivan, if you choose to come with us, we can extend your lifespan to match Zara's. Our medical technology can give you centuries of life. Jake looked at Zara, seeing hope in her eyes. Centuries of protecting others together? Centuries of being partners, she confirmed. Jake made his decision. I'll go. The next few hours were spent making arrangements. Jake said goodbye to his human friends, promising to find ways to maintain contact between their species. Amy kissed him goodbye, understanding but still sad. Be happy, she told him. You deserve it. As the Velthory ships prepared to depart, Jake stood with Zara looking at the alien landscape where they had found each other. Are you ready for this? Zara asked. Are you? Yes, for the first time since I was young, I know exactly what I am supposed to do. What's that? Protect the innocent. And love you. Jake took her hand as they walked toward the crystalline ship that would take them to their new life among the stars. Together, he said. Together, Zara agreed. The ship lifted off, carrying them toward a future neither had imagined but both had chosen. Behind them, the crashed Endeavour sat silent in the valley, a symbol of one journey's end and another's beginning. In the years that followed, stories would spread throughout the galaxy about the human guardian and his Velthory partner, whose bond had saved countless lives and brought two species together in friendship. But that day, as their ship disappeared into the star-filled sky, Jake and Zara were simply two beings who had found their purpose in protecting each other and the galaxy they called home.